in.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Badabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And Kenton, before we get into the latest episode of The Acolyte, episode 7, I want to talk a little bit about Shelley Duvall. We lost Shelley Duvall this week, unfortunately. Another Hollywood legend, another big part of my childhood. We lost her last night, I think it was. Very sad.
Yeah. She was in some all-time classics, The Shining, Popeye, which is a better film than what critics at the time said it was. It was
I
on
agree.
TV. It was on TV a couple weeks ago, and I watched it, and I was like, "This is just charming." You know, it's well done, and they really make a strong attempt to make them look like like the actual
That's the
cartoon
point.
characters.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it's good. It's very well done. And she was also in Winnipeg for a while, in Guy Madden's Twilight of the Ice Nymphs.
That's right.
So I love her as an actor. I think she had problems later in life, some mental health and other issues as she went on with her life. Some of the mental health problems caused by being a big star, I think, back in the day.
I think so too, and she kind of retired from acting for a long time. She was in something recently, a couple years ago, but other than that, had retired. It's funny. I saw Guy Madden. He must have known that she was sick or something, because he posted about her a few days ago. I think it was on Instagram, and he was talking. It was like something from Twilight of the Ice Nymphs, and yeah, I remember thinking when I heard about that was so cool that she was in Winnipeg. It's one of the earliest times I remember a movie star or somebody I knew from Hollywood being in Winnipeg to shoot something. And of course, what I really loved her in, you mentioned, of course, Popeye. I loved Popeye as a kid. I thought that was an awesome movie.
Me
and
too.
the other thing I really liked that she did was those fairy tale theater little, I think it was for PBS, was it?
Yes.
It was these little reenactments of classic fairy tales, and she was a part of the production. She was, I think, in more than one of those. And the one I remember the most, of course, is the Frog Prince with Robin Williams, which, of course, she was somebody she starred in Popeye with. So I thought that was very cool.
Was she in Rapunzel with Martin Short?
Possibly.
Okay, I might be misremembering, like just you bringing it up. Went, oh, hang on, I thought you were going to say that. Now, I might be wrong about who was in that, but I'm pretty sure it was her.
She was in more. I remember she was in more than one. She was a part of the production, and she was the one kind of bringing in these stars to star in these like big Hollywood stars to take on these, like, it was for children. It was on PBS. It was a really great series, and I absolutely loved it. And yeah, so Shelley Duvall, you will be missed very much. And I think I watched tonight. What should I watch in honor of Shelley Duvall? I think I'll watch Popeye. I was gonna watch The Shining, but I'm not really in the mood for The Shining. You really have to be in the mood for The Shining.
You know, there's the film Nashville. Have you ever seen the film Nashville?
No.
Okay.
Oh, Robert Altman, though. That was who
Yes.
discovered her. Yes, he was her kind of supporter or whatever.
She's excellent in that film, and if you haven't seen it, it's a very oddly unfolding film, and it's like the classic style where characters are talking over each other, and it seems more like a documentary in real life. Kind of, that was on TV maybe a couple months ago, and I watched it. And it's a very compelling film, but completely done in a style all of its own. It's really interesting to see. It's a long film,
Okay.
but I recommend it. I've never seen Nashville. It's in everybody's top 10 list of the greatest films of all time. Kind of thing. I was like, I'm finally going to see it because it's on TV, and I'm happy I did. It's a really good film, and she's great in it.
And when you say something's on TV, do you mean like you're just flicking through and coming across movies old school?
I have my cable package includes 4 movie channels, and I can't remember. I follow it on X. I can't think of the name of the thing, but they're constantly. So, like, whatever, before I go to bed, like, I look at what movies are playing on those 4, like, whatever's playing overnight kind of thing. And once in a while, I'll record it if it's a film that I haven't seen or one that I love that I want to see again. And it's commercial free. The Hollywood Suite. That's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe I'm TikTok friends with Hollywood Suite.
Yeah, I am too. I am too.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, so it's great. And they do have a lot of that stuff.
I will just add that you can just get that on, you don't need a cable package. You can get that as an add-on on Prime as well.
Right.
And all those movies that they have streaming, they have all the live streams and also the movies available for you to stream whenever you want. And it changes monthly. And I believe they have a really good kind of selection. They really try to curate a good selection, I think, on that channel. So that's good. That's good. Something to remember. I was just curious because the way you say it, it sounds like you're just kind of surfing channels old school. And
Yes, I still do a certain amount of being surprised watching
okay.
TV.
There you
A
go.
certain amount. Like when I'm just, like when you're just spent at the end of the day, I don't have it in me to watch past lives on Amazon Prime because I know it's going to be 2 hours long and it's Oscar nominated, so I'm going to have to like really engage my brain. Well, it's like what else could I do? I know, and then you just go to the cable channel of your choice and go like, I'm mildly interested in this. I'll just keep it on. Maybe I'll fall asleep. Maybe I won't. It's good
Yeah,
for that. I
that's
like it for
cool.
that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about the latest episode. We have episode 7 of the Acolyte, called
Yeah.
Choice. Very, cryptic names, but it's kind of following the pattern, I guess, of these episode names. And before we like right at the very beginning, I have a question. I want to also say I'll reveal what this is. I wrote something down. I had a realization during the recap at the beginning of the episode, and I just, oh my god, this, and then I wrote it down. So I'll reveal to you what it is because it turned out I was right, as is kind of revealed in this episode. But at the very beginning, and this is of course a flashback episode, so it's like 16 years ago. So we got all that stuff, and it's very separated from everything else. But at the very beginning, we see Saul talking to May, who's unconscious. So is she like aware of what's going on, or does she wake up? I don't remember.
No,
But
that's the recap from the previous week.
are you sure?
Yeah.
Because he sits there and he goes, and that was part of the recap when he says, I
Yeah.
want to tell you something. And he's
Yeah.
like, very so okay. I thought that was meant to be like all these flashbacks are him telling her what happened. Is that what we're meant to believe that?
That is what they indeed should have done, because he said, I'm going to talk to you and you're going to listen, or something like that. At the same time, OSHA put the mask on her head.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't we cut between the mask on the head, the story he's telling, and show what the way things actually unfolded. Let's do that. But no, in fact, that's only part of the recap. It's not. Like, here we are on this planet 16 years earlier.
Okay, so it's just a
Here we
straight up
go
flashback.
again. Yeah, here we go again.
On Brandok is the name of the planet, Brandok 16 years earlier, as it says in the title here. And it turns out this mission they're on looks like a very boring land surveying mission. What would you call this, Kenton?
Well, I would call this episode tedious, and I would call and unwarranted and unnecessary. And maybe that's how they felt about their mission. And that's how poor little Torben, felt about their mission. Why am I gathering this moss? We've been here 7 months. I don't know. Boo-hoo.
I would feel the same way. I'm like, come on, what are you guys doing here? Like he does, and they're not even telling him. They know, and they're not telling him everything.
Well, 7 months in, he asks the question 7 months in.
Maybe he's been saying it the entire time, Kenton. I don't know.
Oh my God. So, and of course it's become a meme already, but Kelnaka carrying a metal detector.
Just looking at that right now.
Yeah, and I saw the other meme is Carrie Ann Moss and Master Soul carrying Moss, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, so they're doing a Star Trek mission. Oh, and it's also been pointed out, I wasn't the first one to see this, somebody else did, but it looks like Master Soul is carrying the Ghostbusters box.
Is that right?
They used to catch ghosts. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't notice that. Yeah. So, but apparently, what they're saying here amongst this conversation is that all this vegetation shouldn't be there, and that there's something that caused it to all grow. It's like and they're saying a vergence in the Force, right? That's what they say it is.
A vergence happened. We need to find out how this planet bounced back.
Yeah. And so, have we seen what is a vergence in the Force? Have we seen this before in anything else?
No, I'm unaware of it. Okay. I think that the only explanation we have is the one provided on the show. And like, okay, fair enough. There's something happened and we're here investigating it, and it involves the Force and something.
And they have to take a lot of samples. It's very boring.
That we need to figure out what's going on. And it turns out, and then one of them even says this is important, right? It's like it's
Yeah.
about life itself.
Right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's true. Now, you said, was it really 7 months, or are you exaggerating?
No, I think that's what they say.
So
It's
they're
like,
there for 7 months. How can they be there for 7 months and have these witches not discover them, or vice
is it
versa? Like, how are we going that long?
wait a second, is it 7 months or 7 weeks? Because I remember thinking Torben's a little whiny.
Let me
He's a
watch
little
and see.
whiny for the amount of time. Can you find the length of time
Yeah,
that
I'm
they've
I'm
been there?
looking.
I'm so mad. I've been here 7 stupid weeks. Okay. My hair gets frizzy in this kind of
Oh no,
humidity.
wait, I missed it. He was looking so sad in that moment.
Yeah, he's very blue.
It's like they're all so like
Yeah.
dejected being there. I don't know what,
I
you
don't
know.
know. Bunch of whiny
I
Jedi.
mean, it does not feel like a Jedi kind of mission, right? It just feels like, what are they even doing here? 16 years. Okay, I'm starting at the beginning of the scene.
Yeah.
While I'm going through this, is there anything else about this first part that kind of stood out to you?
Well, okay. We now okay. First of all, this could have easily we could have seen this in episode 3. There is nothing amazing that happens here. There's nothing surprising or it's like there's very little once again in the way of motivation. Everything just kind of happens because it happens. I wish they would have come up with something better for Torben. Like I'm homesick because I have a mother there who's sick. Okay, that's a better reason other than I'm just bored here. Oh, I'm homesick
That's all he had.
or whatever. Yeah,
Hmm.
like it'd be better if they worked a little harder at making him a little more motivated in terms of why he wants to go home so badly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry, I missed. Okay, now it's nighttime. And they're by the fire.
The question is months or weeks.
It is unwise to insult a Wookiee's cooking. I'm just sick of eating Nuna legs. Nuna legs. Sounds good to me. I want to go home to Coruscant. I know, but we're here on a mission. We've been here for 7 weeks. Only 7 weeks, not
Oh,
7 months.
it's even 7 days, bro. We've been here 7 days. My
Oh
hair has
well.
got split ends, and
It's
my
okay.
mom's mad at me because I never called her. Like it's just there's no there's no point to
Yeah,
that.
so he's upset. So anyway, 7 weeks is
Yeah.
still a long time. Like, how can they be there for 7 weeks and not run into these people? It still seems kind
How
of
can you be there
stretching
for
it.
how can you be there for 7 weeks and not know what you're doing there? I
Right,
keep put
yeah.
I put moss in all of this Ziploc containers. What's it even for? Well, like seven
Oh,
weeks in, it occurs to him, what am I doing?
my favorite part where he's like, so there's things here, big deal. And she's like, calm yourself, Padawan. Like
Yeah.
he's saying big deal is him getting
Yeah.
all worked up about it.
Yeah, I know. He is. It's like a teen. It's like the CW drama again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, he even says we're looking for a virgins. He tells what's going on. What's a
Yeah.
virgins? I, I don't know what's a virgins with you. Concentration of force energy centered around a location. Yeah, that's pretty much okay.
All right.
Like a hotspot. It's like a force hotspot.
I buy that. Sure.
Okay. So is that why the witches are there? Probably, right?
Or that's where the kids came from.
Yes. Okay, yeah, that's true.
Or that's or one thing led to another. One was cause, one was effect. Who knows?
Yeah.
And if they've been there 7 weeks and didn't see a giant castle on top of a rock, that's it's a little surprising that the Jedi would not have seen that already.
Yeah,
That's
no,
kind of
it was
odd.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty striking. Now this whole episode, it really seems, and I don't know Carrie Ann Moss's character because we've barely seen
Yeah.
her in this series. What's her name?
I can't remember. Everyone just called her Trinity, but
Carrie Ann Moss.
yeah.
But she is really like argumentative with Soul for the whole time. Like
Yeah.
they're fighting about all kinds of stuff. Even at the beginning, he's like saying you're too hard on Torben. She's like, don't worry about it. He's my Padawan. Get off my back. And then later on, they're fighting about the twins, and Saul's all about like we have to bring Osha back and that kind of stuff. And she's like, no, and like it's interesting how like she's she kind of she puts up resistance until she doesn't. And she says, okay, fine, and then she lets him do it.
But once again, like because we're just about at the scene where Master Soul goes for a walk and he's peeking around the tree at two little girls playing, and you're just like,
Yeah.
of course, okay, I know they don't mean it to look I sure hope they don't mean it to look the way that I think a lot of people sort of took that. But it's weird. And once again, the motivate Soul's motivation is just like, I want a Padawan. Like I think the writers on this show aren't good with motivations, because there you go. That's the second one of the episode where you're just kind of like, it doesn't seem like much. It
Yeah.
doesn't seem like enough. Like, I want to protect these kids, is a much better motivation.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of and it does come up, but it's once again, this show is supposed to be showing us what we missed the first time, and there's still lots that we don't.
Well, no, it
Yeah.
doesn't though. It just shows us what you've
Yeah.
already seen. Like it makes a point of repeating several scenes exactly word for word. And I'm like, I saw it, and then to the point where I can't remember what parts of it they showed before, what parts of it they didn't. Because he does see them do their whole their rhyme, their thing, and then the mom shows up. Like it's the entire scene that we saw before, and he's just sitting there hiding behind a tree, and he follows them, and he can see right into the temple where they're going without being detected. Like it's a little convenient that
It's a
Soul
back.
gets to see
Yeah.
all this stuff.
It's Back to the Future. It's Marty
Yes.
McFly crawling
Yes, it is.
around
Yes.
behind the
I
scene.
never
Like,
liked that part of them.
no, me neither. I never cared for that either. But it bugs me, because once again, we're seeing something we already saw. And that's, I think this show shows us, so like, it was everybody's least favorite episode was episode 3. Nobody liked that episode. And here we are, and we're revisiting the episode nobody liked, and we're kind of watching a lot of it over again.
Yes.
Like, there isn't that much that's new. And
Like-
and even when you find out what they did, and even when you find out what happened, it's not that amazing or interesting or altogether bad. It's just some misunderstandings, I guess.
Or I guess it doesn't make a whole
I
lot of sense in my mind.
No.
So anyway, yeah, they go. So basically, Saul follows the girls. He gets to see every single thing that we also saw, and then he goes back to tell everybody else, and he says we have to save these girls. Like he's automatically made the assumption that these girls are, like he says, they're witches. They're for, like, I guess it's probably illegal to use the Force if you're not Jedi. I think they established that, right?
I don't know. That they said it's a Force cult,
Yes.
but then ultimately they come around to the idea that they're going to stay. They're going to stay with their mom, with their mothers. That's where they belong. That, so at a certain point, it can't be that so horrible and bad that they would come to that conclusion, that anybody would come to that
But
conclusion.
this is like at the point. Also, Soul. I keep saying Soul. Is it Soul or Saul? Saul.
Master Soul.
Master Saul,
Soul.
yeah.
I think it's Soul. But once
Yeah.
again,
No, I gotta know.
in Star Wars, names get pronounced 6 different ways, including Leia,
I say Leia. I say Han.
Han, Han. There's a bunch of that in Star Wars, so I don't feel bad making it up as I go along.
Yeah, but he's assuming, like, all he's done at this point is seen them from a distance and assumed, and he can hear them too. Like we can hear all the talking. So watching this, to me, it just looks like these kids are part of this colony, and I don't know, it doesn't even look that bad, really. But he goes back and he freaks out, and he tells again, and she's like, no, we have to call the Jedi Council. He's like, no, we can't do that. We don't have time. Even though it seems to take no time at all to contact, right?
He sees the witches standing around a hole, and
Right.
like you could reasonably go, are they going to drop the kids down the hole? Like what is this hole that they're standing outside of? I mean, it's the kind of thing that you want answered before you jump to conclusions, probably.
But he just spends the entire episode jumping to conclusions. Like that's what Soul
Yeah.
does this entire time. Is just, no, this is what's happening, and he's assuming a lot of things, and none of it is true. And then even now he's like we should go as a team, and what's her name saying, no, I'll go alone because there's women down there, and I can understand. I guess she's like, I can talk to the women better. But then she kind of gives in and says, okay, fine, you guys can come, with no argument. He's like, no, we have to go as a team. She's like, okay. Like no argument. That's it, right? She get a little bit of pushback, and then they go. And they, by the way, this elevator is very easy to hotwire, and I just think that there's no effort for them to get into this place. They just
There's no effort. There's some cool scenes of Master Soul climbing the giant rock to get in, and I was like, that's kind of cool. That's cool that the Jedi Knight whatever, he'll find his own way in. But you're right. Why have this big secure fortress when everybody can just come traipsing in? Seems a little weird.
So then we have the meet, and we have a replay of the scene we saw before, but I don't remember. What's his name? Torben? Did Torben faint before? Did we see
Yeah.
that happen? Okay, I
Yeah.
don't remember. I couldn't remember if that was part of it or if they had cut away or something.
He falls down
So
onto his knees and he's gasping, but we didn't see him inside his head like we
Right.
did this time.
like the
Where-
force visions or whatever he's getting.
Yeah, and that, by the way, that was creepy. That was unwarranted. Like creeping around Torben's mind. The head witch, creeping around in there, and once again, I think the motivation would have been better if the head witch discovered something that Torben didn't want anybody to know, that the other Jedi Knights didn't know. Like it
Yeah.
could be anything. Like that would have been far more powerful and a reason why he's scared now. Now they got something on him instead of like, oh, you want to go home to
Yeah.
Coruscant? Ha 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 ha. Like he's homesick. He said it out loud himself. You haven't discovered anything, but what to what end did you creep around his mind like that?
Right.
Other than like, unless you were going to leverage that in some way later on. It's just like I would say that is something that one could imagine what was hostile was a hostile act on your landing party.
Well, yeah, it's an attack
Yeah.
on his mind, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's obviously because he's the Padawan, he's the youngest, he's weak-minded, so he's vulnerable. And but I really wish they would have shown us that in the first time around. Like, I just don't
Yeah.
know what's the point of hiding that from us. We saw him collapse. If we saw him collapse, then we should know
Yeah.
the reason for it, and we should know that they did that. Why would they keep that away out otherwise?
There's no reason other than, once again, conveniences and contrivances. And I think these writers really thought they were dropping big truth bombs on us in this show, in this episode. But really, we'd seen 70% maybe of this before. And then
Yeah.
the new stuff didn't change the way I thought of what happened before. It's a very oddly constructed episode, and once again it's a head scratcher. So I don't know what this does, why they held off on showing it, other than to go, wow, look at this. Look what
Yeah, or
happened.
to like add more detail at this point in the story that we know now. We know they're evil, the witches are evil, whereas before we didn't know.
Are they evil, or what are they doing? Once again, we don't know what they're doing. Like,
well, they're manipulating.
Yeah.
What's his name? So they're not
Torben.
being nice to him, Torben. So and I also thought that when it gets to the point where they take the twins back for the testing, I thought the Jedi were being really manipulative with the kids. Like they're really trying to lead them and get them to answer questions about what's going on. Like it seems all like they're trying to manipulate their way to like just being alone with the kids so they can find out what's going on, right?
Well,
So,
I mean, Soul says he thinks Osha is destined to be his Padawan. He has a strong feeling that is
Yeah.
the case. And she does want to go. She wants to go with the Jedi. So maybe that feeling is real. Maybe he's right. And that's Osha's destiny.
They marked her sister with dark magic, he says. What does that mean?
A little which one has the tattoo? Now I'm like Soul. I can't tell them
May
apart.
has the tattoo.
Right, so that's the dark magic.
I worry she's not safe. I don't know. He's freaking out. So now they have May, and then we see May. We saw all this again. We saw this.
Yeah. She lights the fire. She says, "I want to kill you." She lights a fire. She drops the book on the floor. The fire spreads, but the one thing that's different is May looks like she feels sad, or she suddenly realizes what she's done, and then she tries to go get help, but it's still her fire spreading throughout the.
But do you think that means that she was under someone's control when she did that?
No, that we remember her other mother said, get angry. Now go use it. Go use your anger.
Right.
Right? So she's just been encouraged to use your anger, so that's what she does. She regrets it for a second, but once again, this is a show where people change their minds pretty quick in terms of things they want to do and don't want to do.
Right. Now, we kind of got ahead of it, but what happens in the story is, he goes back and Carrie Ann Moss says, no, don't do anything. We can't interfere. And he goes anyway. He convinces Torben to go back with him to break into the compound to guess rescue OSHA, right? Is that or the both of them? I guess he's trying to get both of them. And that's when they kind of run into them. And I don't know, now I can't quite remember the circumstances. Are they in the middle of a ceremony or does he they all kind of come in at the same time, right?
There's a kerfuffle, and for reasons that I don't think anybody can explain, the mother in charge of the entire coven turns into a specter.
Right, yeah. So I'm trying to figure out
into-
what got us to that point where she becomes a specter. But it's like they're all she's gonna let OSHA go, and they don't want her. They want them for something else. These people are clearly invested in something to do with these twins.
They believe the twins will lead them in the future. Will be in charge of the coven. They say that, but then it occurred to me. They also, at a certain point, say, "Oh, they don't say midichlorian; they say M count."
M count, yes, I noticed that as well.
But they say it's like they're the same person in two forms.
Yes,
and it occurred to me maybe that ascension thing that they were doing was the two of them were going to become one person.
Okay, well, here's where I read to you what I wrote down before the very beginning of the episode. As I'm watching the recap, it occurs to me twins are one person.
Right.
That's it. So either they began as one person and they've been split apart.
Right.
So the force is kind of two sides, light and dark, and it's in most people there's a conflict, and everybody else we've seen who's used the force, there's a conflict between light and dark, and they have trouble choosing. In this case, May is very much dark and OSHA is light, and they don't have trouble choosing. They feel very strongly, but these witches or whatever have taken this one person and split them apart. So it's either that or they're clones. One's clone of another, but I don't think that we're going to get into clone stuff in this.
No,
So I think somehow they've kind of taken one person and split it in half, and that's because of the virgins. It was caused by the virgins, as they said, and it's like the same thing that created the plants can create a person, I guess. I don't know.
Except I think we don't know what the cause was and what the effect was. So we don't know if the virgins was the effect or if the virgins was the cause. And by the way, how does the Sith Lord know about this? And so somewhere behind the scenes, I expected to see that maybe it was caused by a Sith Lord who we know can conceive of kids just through manipulation of midi-chlorians somehow, chlorians. So there's still that had to have played a role in some point, or one of the mothers turns into a specter and gets away. I forget the mother's names, but so one of them gets away, but then Soul he's spooked by the specter, and so he lights up his lightsaber, and it turns out you can stab the smoke and still kill the specter.
Smoke and still kill somebody. Yes, that's
Okay.
Again, so many things confused me about that sequence.
And then she goes, "Yeah, just so you know, I was gonna let OSHA go with you." And then she goes, "One day, you Jedi Knights will pay the price for things like this or something like that." And it's like, so I guess it's supposed to be an Order 66
I guess
prediction.
And by the way, May sees this. May sees him stab his mom and kill her, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, but OSHA doesn't.
May is dematerializing at the same time.
Right. She's there too.
So it's unclear. Is he trying to save May? He's afraid of this is the specter. He's like Scooby-Doo. He's afraid of the specter, so he lights up his lightsaber and he impales somebody.
Yeah.
Which is what Scooby-Doo would do.
Of course. Oh yeah, and they have all the arrows. These guys have all these arrows too. I forgot about that.
And Torben and he goes and Soul says, "Torben, protect your mind." And he goes, "My mind is fortified." I like that. My mind is fortified. So you're not lonely. You're not homesick no more.
Well, he certainly fortified his mind. His head got really big at the end when he was meditating, and he had that giant.
Well, I thought we were going to see something we didn't see. We saw some of it, but so then the next thing that happens is our friend Kalnaka gets dropped off conveniently because this plot. And we even see him in the ship, and she's like, it's going to take me a little bit to find some place to land. So I'll drop you off so the witches can control your brain, Kelnaka. How does that sound? So she drops him off, and then we get a good lightsaber. It's a good lightsaber fight, but I really didn't. I wanted to see the Wookiee fight the Sith, not the Wookiee fight other Jedi.
Right, exactly. I just kind of felt like these other people were like nothing. Could they do anything at this point? And by the way, did Carrie-Anne Moss kill them all? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Is like she just like boom and they all die in a moment? I was confused about that part as well.
Well, so much for the power of many, because they're all chanting. And so Carrie-Anne Moss. So and I was gonna say, I thought Kelnaka was going to grab Torben from the head and stretch his skull. Which is why, so like that's why it looks so bad in the future, and it did explain why his one eye was
right. He did get messed up. His face did get messed up. Yeah, for sure.
But I literally thought we were going to see like crunch, like we were going to see that, but we didn't. We didn't see it, but it was a pretty good fight.
Yeah.
Carrie-Anne Moss takes him out of his spell and then kills all the witches, but we still get an explosion. But that was caused still by the fire, by the fire set by May. So May is still responsible for 90% of what happens.
No, she's not responsible for killing people though. Like that's the thing. Like they made it seem like whatever this fire that they made that point of saying at the beginning is that May started a fire, and then they say the line that killed everybody. That's a horrible thing to say. It's like you tell this kid that their sister killed a bunch of people.
Did the witches did the witches just pass out and get burned up in the fire, or did the witches die on contact? I don't know.
I think they died in that moment. I think they all like snapped and they went boom and they dropped. It seems like that to me.
I don't think that scene is supposed to be funny, but it cracked me up.
Okay.
Because they're all like this. They're going, whoa, they're holding hands and they're rocking back and forth. And it's like in a movie where somebody pushes a mime or whatever, and then everybody laughs because it's like you wreck the mime's routine. That sort of, it's like one of those things. I don't like your performance. They all die.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go through here.
Yeah. So we got that.
Yeah, it's very weird. Oh yeah, we got the big close-up of that weird looking witch. For some reason. There's one of them that's really alien looking.
Yeah.
She kind of looks like Snoke, actually.
She's the last, she took the last gasp before she collapsed.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was probably a hilarious day on set. Where they're all rocking back and forth for like 400 takes.
Yeah. So there you go. So then they kind of at the end of it, they decide to cover it up. Like it seems so strange.
Yeah, like what exactly bad did the Jedi do? Like to me, all the sins here were misunderstandings and assumptions. So we're gonna start the next episode, and Sol is gonna have May held down on this thing, and he's like, so therefore, never assume anything.
I didn't really mean to stab your mom.
Yeah,
sorry.
Like, that's the big. Like I thought we were gonna see the Jedi act out of malice and kill people out of. Like, you invaded my mind and now I'm going to kill your coven. I thought we were going to see something like that.
Yeah.
But really, all we saw was a series of unfortunate events. Lemony Snicket. We saw Lemony Snicket.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you just tell the Jedi Council what happened?
I don't know. It's weird. Right?
So
especially since these are supposed to be like witches who are like, breaking the law anyway. So why couldn't they just tell them what happened? To keep it from May, maybe? Well, I don't know why they would make up the lie about, or keep it for Osha rather.
They thought May was dead. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing that we saw is that he had a Sophie's choice, as it turns out, with the bridge collapsing. He has to choose Osha or May, and he chooses Osha. But what makes that a choice, and Sophie's choice, is that it has legitimate consequences. And we know that both of the twins live in this show. So it's like, I need to choose one. I chose Osha, and then May goes crashing down. But she lived. So doesn't that bear out that he made the right choice? Both of them lived. Like,
well, but we assume, I guess, somebody found May, and then the dark guy, the evil guys found her and then brought her up to believe in whatever, right? That's what has to have happened.
Well,
who
yeah,
knows how OSHA survived the fall?
who
We don't
knows?
have to worry about that.
Yeah, yeah, like that would have been helpful to see. There's a couple of things that actually would have
I
shed
may
some
rather.
light on this.
Yeah, you
Like
can mix them
if
up.
whatever his name is, Kamir showed up, I was like, I'll take care of you," or Darth Plagueis showed up and said, "I'll take care of you," or Cat Cotter or something. That would have been a big surprise, but we don't like the choice doesn't have repercussions or doesn't really resonate with us because we know what happens, which is they both live.
Yeah.
So that's a good choice he made.
Yeah, even though it seemed like well, I mean, he
Right,
made the choice that he wanted because he felt the connection to OSHA, right?
right.
And he felt that she was good. He probably already felt like the dark side coming from May. So, yeah, and then, but it is all very selfish, you're right? Because all he wants is his own Padawan, and he wants to basically have her as his Padawan. And we know that he failed at that. We know that she ends up leaving, and he doesn't end up training her, which is kind of interesting. So, I don't know. There are some good elements to this, but again, it's very difficult to watch just because of all the bad elements that we don't like.
Well, he also confuses Osha and May in that scene where he stabs the Spectre.
Yeah,
She comes running in and he goes, "Osha." Like
yeah.
these are Jedi Knights. He can tell the difference.
Like we can tell the difference as the audience. He should
Yes.
be able to as well, right?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
just too much of that. Too many contrivances and conveniences, just like in previous weeks. Why couldn't we just see this episode as episode 3? I don't get it. I don't know why we couldn't. Only because I think the show thinks that these are big truth bombs.
We have one more episode left of the Acolyte.
How did this episode end again?
He
Did we
he
say?
just they lied to May about what
All
happened, or
right,
they lied to OSHA about what
right,
happened,
right.
and that's it. And then we didn't. So then we have to kind of go back to see what happens in the helmet, right? That's going to be the
No,
beginning of the next episode.
no.
No.
It actually occurred to me that the worst way that they could start this next episode is by we see in the helmet the same thing we just watched in this episode, or now we hear Soul explain the same thing that we saw in this episode. That would be a nightmare if they like it's. I hope it starts and he goes, "So now you know what happened."
That's
The end.
That's how it's gonna start.
It better. It better, because I swear to God, if they try to go back there and show us more, or then we have May go, "Yeah, but here's what you didn't know."
Oh yeah, okay.
Like, no, no, I don't want no more. I never want to go back to that ever again.
Yeah, yeah. I think that these having these episodes like this kind of confuse and take
Oh,
away from the story. And now now we're completely derailed from the main villain of this episode, which we didn't think was going to be the main villain, but now I'm kind of thinking he is the main villain because we barely seen him in the
I
last
know.
couple episodes. So like he's got to be it. So they're gonna have to find a way to get. No, wait, he's got OSHA, and yeah, and Soul's got May. So I don't know. Who knows how this is gonna end?
Oh,
I'm done guessing.
all the things that they told us about what this show is turns out not to be the case. It's a Star Wars mystery. Nope, not really. It's not really a mystery. We knew early who the Sith Lord was. We knew early, we all had speculations about what happened with the witches, and it was actually a lot worse than what we ultimately saw. So that didn't pay off. Then they said this was going to be about the Sith, how the Sith work. And like we had half an episode maybe on that. So it's like, what is this show? Once again, we're brought back to the original. What is this? What is this show supposed to be telling us? What is the point of this show? Why do we have this show? And
So you have Star Wars content. That seems to be the real reason.
well, it's pretty weak. Like when you look at the writing on House of the Dragon, once again, that's good writing.
Oh,
Week to week, week to week, you're like, that's cool. That's a twist. That's interesting. Something happened. There's real stakes that are going on. But on the Acolyte, it's like things just happen because they do, because the writers decided that this is what should happen.
yeah.
And I don't know. It's like that. Therefore, anything could happen in the last episode. There's no point. It's pointless in trying to predict it because this show thought that what happened this week was amazing jaw droppers. So, so if that's what they think is an amazing jaw dropper, then so far the show's only given us one super cool lightsaber battle, really.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
true.
That's all the show has been. because everything else is just not paid off. It's just not. I'm sad to say it, but I think this
Me
is
too. I really hate to pile
yeah.
onto the hate. I don't want to be this negative. And I was trying to come at this with a more positive outlook this time around, but I really couldn't find a lot positive about this episode. Like, I bet you I could go back and find more positive stuff about the earlier episodes now. But at this point, like just watching this, I was just, come on, we don't want to see like just watching the same scenes, the exact same scenes over again from a different angle is not interesting. Sorry, that's not
No.
going to keep me watching this. Obviously we're gonna have to watch one more episode, but I'm canceling
On
my
a
Disney Plus after that.
on on a previous episode of our podcast, remember we said if we have to go back to the least favorite episode, it's going to be really tedious, and it was really tedious.
Yeah.
Like with only one episode to go, and there we are watching this again. Like, oh, it's painful. And I really do think like maybe next week we're gonna need to have a Star Wars intervention. We're gonna have to talk about what Star Wars unless I mean, hey, it's always possible because we had that one good lightsaber episode. It's always possible that they might pull something out in the last episode that might be cool. And probably they will because they want a season two. So maybe they will. But it's got to be deeper than that. And I think if this is what passes the quality control test at
Yeah.
Lucasfilm, I think we need an intervention to get in there because
Right.
it's I was watching scenes yesterday. I found a YouTube video that shows the best scenes from the Star Wars movies. And like you see those scenes from A New Hope and from Empire Strikes Back and from Return of the Jedi, like the best scenes, and you're like, oh my God, they're so good. And then you think about the Acolyte, and you just go, well, there just is nothing up to that. There's no human motivation or yearning. Like there's nothing that starts us off on our journey that we're like, whoa, that compels us,
Mhm.
draws us in. There's just nothing like that. It just happens because the writers say it happens.
That's right.
So it's unfortunate. I want Star Wars, like Star Wars is a special brand that needs to be handled well.
Well, I think Disney would say they've been doing that just because they haven't been going full bore like they did with Marvel. Like they did kind of back off when Solo didn't do well and people said, "Hey, this is
Yeah.
too much Star Wars." They backed off and they know what they have, but they're just I think unsure of how to proceed. And I think they're just trying to pick projects that are different enough that appeal to different audiences. They're trying to like expand the Star Wars audience to new audiences. I think a big part of it is also writing it for with a global audience in mind instead of just a specific audience for the American audience or whatever. Like that's that's how the originals were written. They weren't written for everybody to understand. They're just written for Americans. That kind of stuff waters down the product, right?
But they were universal in like once again, human yearning is
Yes, that's
universal.
right. So if you pick the right
Yeah.
themes, you're right. So your point is if
Right.
you pick the right motivation, the right themes,
Right.
the right overall kind of like this is what this show's about, then people will enjoy it no matter what. And that this show just doesn't do that. You're right.
So
Even
the
Andor, I felt was about something, right? Andor
oh
made
yes,
sense, right? That's
very
about like,
much.
yeah,
Yeah. It's how like here's this guy going around through getting through life when he suddenly gets caught up in the gears of the imperial machinery.
yes. And we get to see a lot of cool stuff. And that's the
Oh,
thing. Every episode of Andor gave us something cool, right?
yes.
Like there's something new, different, cool. And this episode gives us nothing. It's all the same stuff we've seen
Well, a
before.
Wookiee with a lightsaber. Okay, I give it that. But
That's the
and
bear. That's such
yeah,
like low hanging
I know.
fruit. I'm
It
sorry.
is. It is low. You're right. But and we forgot the icing on the cake, the end credits. The Power of One, the Power of Two, sung by Victoria Monet. Once again, a pop song and a Star Wars TV show, and it's like it's always been symphonic music. I don't know. Once again, I don't know who it's for. Oh, and I've since discovered on a previous podcast, I said Victoria Monet must be Janelle Monae's sister, but it's spelled different. Monet is spelled differently. So no, I don't believe that there's any relation.
And not
But
descended
why?
from the famous French impressionist Monet.
There's no relation.
Okay.
I think Lucasfilm imagined all of us running to iTunes to download that song.
Well, I'm sure that's
After the
what
episode.
somebody imagined. They
No.
always think that these
Oh,
things
they
like
did, yeah.
that's how they think these things work.
Yeah.
But I didn't even honestly didn't even notice to be care about that stuff. I I'm sorry. I
Oh,
didn't even stay through the end credits. I just turned it off. I went on to the next thing.
like
So,
what do we think we have here? Titanic? Like, is this Titanic where Celine Dion sings a ballad at the very end?
well, George
Or
Lucas put a
like,
musical number in Return of the Jedi, so I think he won.
yeah, that's Muppets inserted in Star Wars. And George Lucas did lots of that. There's
Yeah.
lots of wackiness. And even in the very first the Alien Bar, in the very first time we saw Star Wars, had some degree of it was like Lawrence Welk, the alien versions of Lawrence Welk
Yes.
playing their stuff. And that's great stuff, but not a 90s pop song is what it sounds like. Every 90s movie had a pop song at
That's
the end,
right.
and you're like, here it is. Oh, here it is. Here's the 90s pop song at the very end.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they think they're doing with this brand. It's just so all over the place. And how is it that Lord and Miller couldn't get their Han Solo movie made because it was wrong tonally, but this thing is allowed to to be out there? Like, to me, this is Star Wars Willow, where it needs to vanish from Disney Plus.
Yeah, that could be.
It's not becoming, it's not befitting of the brand.
Yeah, you could be right though. It could be like Willow's gone, right? Is that what
It's
you're saying
gone.
there? You
It's
can't watch
gone.
it anymore. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
awful. Like
it's
Willow, I'd
awful.
rather forget about that series. I don't want to say this is as bad as Willow, but it's pretty
No,
bad. And that might happen. I could totally see that happening.
it's not as bad as Willow. Willow was its own level of badness, but both shows made many of the same mistakes about what they thought the franchise was and how they could breathe youthful life into it. When in the end, they just ended up taking something valuable and turning it into a CW show or a Degrassi, an episode of like Degrassi
See,
Junior
I
High.
don't think that that's what it is. I think if they're maybe trying to go for that, they're not succeeding. But I think
No,
there's a way to combine those things. I think you could make a cool CW show with Star Wars in mind. But this is not what they're doing. They're still trying to be too much like Star Wars. There's still this whole thing really reminds me a lot of the prequels and how boring and drab those were, except for like the exteriors. But this show doesn't even give us that. It doesn't give us any good exteriors. It just gives us more hallways and more conversations in the dark, and it's just nothing really interesting to look at.
well, and it's also 100 years prior to anything we've seen about Star Wars. It was an opportunity to show us stuff like what the lightsabers are a little bit wider, like the
Well,
robes are still,
I noticed his ghost trap you're talking about. It
yeah,
was giant. It's like a
yeah,
giant ghost trap. So everything is bigger. It's
yeah,
clunkier.
a slightly larger speeder bike.
Yes.
Like, but it's just not. Like, give us, like, the prequels gave us a whole new palette, right? Like, we're like,
Right.
what's this? This doesn't even look like Star Wars. Wow, what is this? Oh, it's for the prequel. It's a different time.
Yeah.
Oh, like this is when the New
Different
Republic.
sounds. He did a
Yes,
lot of cool stuff for the prequels.
yes.
Yeah.
So same thing. I was expecting a new palette, a darker, a sort of kind of a more evil tone hanging over the whole thing, which should be easy to do given the pieces that they've come up with. But holy, like, there's just like, does anybody even care if they ever see Mayor Osha again after this series?
No.
Like, I don't. Like, I think the only way the series could be saved is at the very end, Saul and Kamir decide independently to uh to uh to kill both of the twins. That's the only way you can make all the fans happy. At the
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what else. I mean, I suspect what we're gonna see is a big lightsaber battle between Saul and
yeah,
Kamir, and
of
then twins are
course.
gonna get caught in the middle, and
Yeah,
they're gonna try to, I don't know, May is gonna be wishy-washy about it, but then she's finally gonna do the right thing and side with her sister and then save the day. And I don't know, that's gonna be it. But I don't think this is gonna
yeah.
get a second season. I really don't think this is gonna have a second season. I think they're gonna quash it, even if they've already said they will. I feel like a lot of studios in general are gonna start pulling back from the stuff they've been announcing because it's not working and people are not liking it, right?
Well, what scares me also is the next one is Skeleton Crew, I think, and that's for kids. And
Then they really
so,
won't care about that one because that kind of stuff is like disposable. The kid stuff is just, it's like
well,
Rebels or whatever.
I'm not writing off the possibility that it could be great, but I'm concerned that what did who did they think this one was for? Because it's the tone is just all over the place.
Maybe the
I
problem
don't
is they're trying to think too much about who it's for and not just making it for Star Wars fans.
I don't know. Because who is it for? What is the show
Well,
supposed to be doing? Who's
maybe the
watching
audience
it going, yes, this is like the show of my dreams. I haven't heard anybody like, I have seen some very nice Star Wars fans, as I always point out, on their YouTube channels being very nice to this show, and it's great to see. Like, I love Star Wars fandom, and I love the fact that I'm watching this whole show right till the very end because I'm a Star Wars fan. But honestly, it's alarming, and it brings me no joy to say that this isn't a good show. I want
agree.
it to be a good show. I want to love this show, and it just isn't that great. It's diluting the brand. It's diluting the great entertainment that we grew up loving.
We're not going to follow so blindly next time. We're going to like kind of go, oh, maybe it's not going to be that good, and we won't be as excited. So,
Dan, do you think you and I could write a better Star Wars series than this one?
yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe we should.
Yeah, but we'll be like Lord and Miller. They won't like our jokes.
Well, I don't know. Then we change the names a little bit and we sell it to somebody else as a Star Wars knockoff, because that's what everybody did in the 80s. That was the whole thing, right? Star Wars
That
knockoffs.
that horrible Rebel Moon on Netflix.
I couldn't get through 20 minutes of that.
No,
Couldn't even-
unwatchable.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
And apparently Lucasfilm turned him down. That he tried to make those Star Wars films and they said no. So I'm happy that quality control was there. But
Right.
I still think
But when was there?
Yeah, I know. Like, I do think this is a problem of quality control to some extent.
Maybe.
On this show, because there are elements that are good. There are the chess pieces are there, but somebody's lifted the chessboard and dumped them all onto the floor. And if the chess pieces were moved in the right way, this could have been a good show.
Yes.
And did it need to be 8 episodes?
No,
No.
I wouldn't say so. They like
No.
these two flashbacks. I mean, I don't know. I would have reordered them. I would have done this completely differently, but it is what it is, and we'll just wait and see what happens in the final episode. I think that's gonna do it.
Yeah, I think so. And just one last thought, and that is, I hope somebody does take this show and edit it down into a 2-hour film, because I'll bet I think there is a good 2-hour film here.
Probably.
You could piece together, and it would start with the witches, the stuff that went down this last episode. Get it out of the way, and then let's jump ahead to the future and let's make this about the Sith at that point.
Yeah.
I think there's a way to do this that would make better sense. Would be a better show.
Well, somebody will do it. Get Topher Grace on it. He likes to do edits of Star Wars stuff. No?
I'll give him a call.
Okay.
I'll call up old Tofi.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you in the ass.
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Now I am the master.
I'm taking an awful risk there.